Los Angeles, California is a fantasy destination for many, a place they expect to see the world of cinema, celebrities, beaches galore, palm trees everywhere, and the exercise craze of Pilates and crystals and healthy food. But that's not why I'm here.
Anywhere you go, give it all.
I'm going to LA to test a theory. The theory is that I may have made a mistake. I'm going for a full month. I've never been back to the US for that amount of time since I left for Paris about 9 years ago. And I'm just wondering, did I make a mistake? I don't know. So that's what I'm kind of testing. I'm not going to be going to that many tourist spots. I'm basically going to be hanging out with friends, wandering the city, visiting some of my old haunts, and just seeing, do I feel more home there than I do here? Is it maybe better there than it is here? Or did I make the right choice?
'Cause we're all California.
I have to say, I feel utterly ridiculous, but completely LA. I could never be having this experience of talking to you in a car in Paris, but it seems like such an LA thing and a YouTuber in LA thing, so I kind of had to do it. I was really nervous about coming. I was nervous that I would really miss it and start thinking that I had made a mistake to change my life and install myself in France. I thought I would start forgetting my French. I thought I would get really used to customer service here. I'm trying to channel the LA vibe of being chill, which I realize is not actually chill. It's like pseudo chill. It's like image chill, but interior rage. And I didn't even realize that until just this moment, that's exactly what it is. So many people in LA run around with exterior chill vibes, but interior rage vibes and disappointment vibes. Anywho, it's a lot of time in the car. Thank God for car air conditioning. And otherwise, it's just recognizing how things have changed and how things have not changed at all. Restaurants and cafes are still where they've always been. But then there'll be things like the Starbucks next to my old apartment is gone. How did that happen? How does a Starbucks disappear of all businesses to go out of business at a location? That's kind of shocking. But at least the tagging and the homelessness that I saw 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago when I was here, that has gotten better. And I don't know, I'll just continue to ruminate about my thoughts and the details of life here as I see it. Stick with me.
Oh, you guys, living in Paris has totally spoiled me. I am now so used to jumping on a train for a cheap trip of only a couple of hours to find beaches with transparent turquoise water, or going only a little further afield to land in true paradise conditions. I had forgotten about Southern California fog that can block out the sun until noon every day, or the tar that can end up coating your feet after just a short walk through the sand, or the cold, dark waves of the Pacific Ocean. I have become a truly pampered wimp.
We don't have fig Newtons in Paris. We have figs and we have cookies, but we do not have Nabisco. I think it's Nabisco. Anyway, whatever the Fig Newton brand is. And I fucking love them. And every once in a while I get a craving for them. And so when I'm back in the States, I indulge in all of my cravings, most of which are junk food. And I have tried some of my craving foods since being back. Most of them are a huge disappointment. Fig Newtons, however, not a disappointment. They're so fucking good. Addictively good. So once this package is emptied, that's it. I'm not getting any more. And unfortunately, the grocery store didn't have the 2 Fig Newton packages, or I would have purchased that. But I was forced to purchase the 2-sleeve package of Fig Newtons. So, obviously, I have to eat them all. And then I wonder why I'm not svelte-like. Anyway, I'm really enjoying them. Thumbs up for American Fig Newtons. I know I'm officially a Parisian when I don't react calmly to an earthquake. Because, of course, I have been in LA less than a week, and we've had an earthquake. It's probably only like a 4, 4.2 on the Richter scale. Not a big deal. Not something I would even react to when I lived here. But my heart is still palpitating like 5 minutes later after the earthquake. And I wanted to call my mommy, who happens to be dead, so that would not have helped at all. But I hadn't factored that into my visit. And I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, that this is not a precursor foreshock to the big one. And that it is just like a recalibration of the plates, and we're fine, and we're going to move on, and this will just have been a blip in my experience. But dear God, I'd forgotten about the complete helpless overwhelm. And living in LA, you get used to them. But I am now a Parisian, and I'm not fucking used to them anymore. There was a fucking earthquake. Okay. Onward, upward. We'll see what the next days hold.
Despite Paris being a gastronomic heaven, there are 2 types of foods I really crave when I go back to the US: sweets and Mexican food. But like a typical expat, I'd forgotten a couple of things. The amount of condiments you get, the technicolorness of all of the cocktails, and sort of that extra oomph. The diners, which are so quintessentially Southern California and the South. And all of those little touches, like the jams in the stacks and the sugar packs, water with ice and straws, and then, of course, the never-ending menus where you can customize to your heart's desire. It's good.
It astounds me that there was a time that I absolutely loved driving and I loved being in my car. Because now it makes me want to crawl up the fucking walls. There are now mosquitoes in LA. There were not mosquitoes in LA before. Thank you, tiger mosquitoes, for coming into Los Angeles County. They are the size of Alaska, and they are carnivorous, so they bite the crap out of you. However, there's no grass. There are no water features, which I guess is a good thing given the mosquitoes. But I am just now realizing how much I rely on the squares of Paris that will always have a respite from the heat by allowing you to get into the shade under some gorgeous tree, or stick your feet into the fountain in the middle of the square. And maybe it's because I don't know LA anymore, and I really feel like a stranger in a strange town. And I feel like I actually know the layout of Paris far more than I know the layout of LA. It's also, LA is like 17,000 times as big as a footprint as Paris is. But like, I don't know where to go to escape the heat. I don't know where to go to just find like a quiet place to work or read or contemplate life where I don't have to pay $15 for parking for an hour. I'm slightly exaggerating, but not much.
After driving around so much, I'd actually forgotten that LA has nature, and it's actually accessible. It's not the manicured lawns and Robin Hood-esque forests you find in and around Paris. It's drier, duller in color. The human presence is a little harder to ignore. But I can begrudgingly acknowledge that it has an abundance of charm, if you're willing to get in your car to find it.
So, it turns out that there is a place to sit under the sun in LA that I had completely forgotten about. It's Griffith Park, where the observatory is at the top of the hill that was made famous by the James Dean movie Rebel Without a Cause a gazillion years ago. And I used to come here all the time. There was a blip in my life when I was living in LA where I would come here to hike. There's a cafe right here called Trails Cafe that I used to come to all the time and loved. And I had just kind of erased it from my memory. And I'm realizing the more days that I'm here in LA, how much I had forgotten about my life here. Everything is bigger. I know that's a cliche, but like, holy fuck. Everything is bigger. The meals are bigger. The drinks are bigger. The homes are bigger. The cars are bigger. The roads are so much bigger. You know, there are like 7-lane highways, 7 lanes on both sides in the middle of the city. It's freaking insane. It's insane coming from Paris. And Teslas everywhere. There are more Teslas and Maybachs, Malbecs, that really fucking expensive $300,000, $400,000 car that no one should be driving. And then there's this Tesla truck thing that is probably, not even possibly, but probably, no, definitively, the ugliest, least aesthetic automobile that has ever been created in the history of automobiles. I don't even have words for it. It's possibly an extremely emotionally stunted tech bro's wet dream. I think that's the only reason it got made, but it should be banned because, and again, maybe this is my Parisian sensibility coming through, where I really believe that we should create beauty in the world, and I'm very grateful that I don't see those on the Paris streets to clash dramatically against the beauty of Paris. Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. Like, I can tell that a lot of what I'm sharing has like a negative tone to it, and I'm truly not feeling negative about it. I guess I'm just reveling in the confirmation of how, for me, I made the right choice going to Paris and creating my life in Paris. And I truly believe that there are many people in LA for whom this is their right choice, and they're happy with all of the things that I'm just kind of listing off as things that I think are crazy or don't like or don't see the value of or compare, negatively to what I have in Paris. But for other people, it's the exact reverse. They would be incredibly unhappy with life in Paris in general. And I think that's just one of the things to discover about yourself. What are the aspects of life that you enjoy the most, that you value the most, the aspects of community that you want, the aspects of consumption that you want, and then try to find a place and people who reflect that and help you build the life you want. Everyone has a place that they're supposed to be, and it's not necessarily the same place throughout your life, but when you find your place, you know it, and things come easily to make it happen for you to be in that place. Kind of like in a relationship. When a relationship is the right relationship, it's not, you're not having to pull out your hair to make it work. And I feel the same way about where you live. Like, when it's right, it's right. And Paris is right for me, and I hope that everyone finds their right place and has the opportunity to make a life in their right place stick.
Thanks for staying in the details. Please subscribe. Et à plus.